Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon or good evening, whenever you're watching this video. This is Carly again, Driving Instructors Association Chief Executive. Apologies for the kind of last minute nature of this video and the fact that I'll be reading somewhat from an email whilst I'm talking to you. But you've probably seen in your inbox, if you're signed up to DVSA Direct this morning, there has been an announcement from Heidi Alexander, the Minister of Transport, Secretary of State for Transport, about measures that DVSA plans to take fairly immediately to tackle the ongoing issue of test waiting times. So just going through those in brief right now for those who haven't seen that email yet or haven't got access to DVSA Direct for any reason. So the Secretary of State has announced today on Wednesday, the 23rd of April, further action to help provide thousands of additional driving tests every month. They state in the email that they feel they've made progress with their 7-point plan. However, they understand customers are not seeing the immediate effects of these measures. I think that sentence in itself is almost a contradiction in terms, because the reality is there hasn't been the progress. It's not that we're just not seeing it. There hasn't been, in reality, a huge progress if we measure it by what the waiting time actually is. So in December, they launched a 7-point plan. In March, the waiting times have gone up to 21.3 weeks. So this is not just an issue of perception. We're not seeing the progress. In actuality, the progress isn't there if we base it on the waiting time figures going down and the plan being impactful on those waiting time figures going down. So the Transport Secretary has announced today that they're going to take some more measures to deal with this issue. So to open up more tests and break down barriers to economic growth, which they believe is important. Tests are important in enabling people to become more mobile and make a contribution to the workforce, all of that, and the economy. The measure that they're going to be taking is those in other DVSA roles, so the warrant card holders again, are essentially going to be returned to the front line. Now, we wrote to Loveday Ryder 2 weeks ago now, exactly 2 weeks ago. The letter was sent from NASP 2 weeks ago on Wednesday. Haven't had a response to that directly. In that letter, one of the biggest questions we had is why, if returning warrant card holders to the front line was so successful the last time you did it between October 23 and April 24, you netted 150,000 extra tests. Why didn't you keep them out there? And if you couldn't keep them out there for such a sustained period, why didn't you return them when you saw that your waiting times were going up again? Okay, you're doing it now, but is this another too little too late measure? And how many are you returning this time? Is it going to be around 230, 40 like you did last time? Or are we seeing a far less number than that? So some meat on the bones of this announcement would be good from DVSA. They're going to double the number of permanent trainers to skill up new driving examiners quickly. Great, that's a good thing. Diamond Advanced Motorists, which is part of the DIA group, our testing arm, was asked just after COVID by DVSA for our viewpoint on their examiner training process, and would we be able to actually lend some of our examiners to help with the training examiners. Obviously at the time we couldn't do that because we actually are servicing a lot of testing for our taxi and PHV market from our own examiners, but we did actually offer some feedback on the training process, which was that it had to be expedited. It was too long. There was a lot of stuff in there that wasn't vital to get examiners deployed as quickly as you possibly could. That wouldn't, what the measures we were suggesting weren't about compromising quality. They were taking the more commercial approach of expediting training to make sure you could get people up to a required standard quickly and deployed to do the job. So we'd already commented over 3 years ago now that their training process was too long and needed to be expedited. Bringing in more trainers will hopefully do that. I know they've been talking about shortening the training process anyway, especially as they've had new trainees fall out of the process. And that could be because people think a 6-week process is too long. So yeah, good news in a way, but we want to see again, what's the meat on the bones of that? There's going to be an accelerated consultation on a fairer service for customers tackling abuses in the drive interest booking system. That's great. And that is responsive to what we've been saying, what DIA in particular has been saying for a while now. The 7-point plan, 25% of it, a quarter of it, is plans to consult on plans. And if a consultation period is too long, it means a solution is too long in coming as well. So yes, please do accelerate that consultation on these issues. And there'll also be a reintroduction of overtime pay incentives for anyone carrying out driving tests. So that, I assume, will include examiners who are currently deployed, but also those who are coming to the front line from other jobs within the organisation. So incentivizing those people to, don their fluorescent tabards and get their iPads out again. Okay, if that gets people back doing what we need them to do and it releases a lot more tests, that is absolutely great. So you'll see that in your inbox now, and we'll obviously be talking to DVSA hopefully to get some more flesh on the bones of that. The other thing I'd say is we'll be publishing today the letter we sent to DVSA over 2 weeks ago now, where we spoke about the need to accelerate consultation, the need to have more examiners in place, and couldn't you return warrant card holders if you can't resolve your recruitment and retention issue to the front line. We talked about the booking system. That development needs to be accelerated in some way. I know from experience of developing complex systems for customer management within the financial service arena, way more complex actually than a booking system, is that these projects can run off into the distance before you know it, and there's no real result in a tangible and meaningful time frame. And we'd like to know and ask in the letter that the project to build a new booking system is actually tracking along at a decent pace, because we've been talking about that for a long time as well. So good news, in a sense, that there are some developments this morning about tackling test waiting times. But the reality is, as an industry, we're still concerned that these measures should have been taken earlier. And how long will they sustain some of these measures, and what impact will they actually have? We'd like more meat on the bones of those kind of things. We'd also like a response to our letter. I realise people are on holiday at the moment, but so am I. I'm on holiday too. I'm still working on things. I don't expect everybody to be working on their holidays, but I think when you're in crisis mode, unfortunately, as a senior executive, you are going to have to be responsive to the matters that are at hand in that crisis, and also to stakeholders expressing severe concerns. So we'll keep you updated on this moving situation. It appears things are being listened to in terms of stakeholders, concerns. But again, those concerns have not been obliterated just by this email coming out today. Take care. I'll speak to you soon.